Muchas gracias. Bueno, yo soy Rosa Navarro, soy la ganadora, como ya les explicaron, de Yo Presento a Maggie. Estoy muy feliz de estar aquí, ya con ella, es una persona muy amable, muy linda, te hace sentir muy cómoda y estoy un poco nerviosa, perdón. El primer libro que leí de Maggie fue la de la saga de Mercy Falls, Los Lobos de Mercy Falls. Es muy interesante, quien no lo ha leído y quien ya lo leyó, yo creo que le va a interesar mucho. También leí Lamento, una saga que habla sobre el hadas, es muy mágica y muy interesante. No es como la clásica historia del cuento de hadas, además de la saga que ahorita presenta de la profecía del cuervo. No sé si ya lo leyeron, que no debería de leerlo. La saga se vuelve muy interesante, no es nada predecible, creo que es muy aburrido leer un libro y saber cómo va a acabar, es algo que no sabes con esta saga, siempre te mantiene en suspenso, así que se lo recomiendo mucho y espero que les agrade mucho la presentación de hoy.
Los dejo.
Del que sin duda teníamos que hablar esta tarde. Hablemos cómo es que fue que este libro fue concebido, cómo decidiste escribirlo y qué rol juega la ciudad de Los Ángeles en esta saga.
So here's my confession. The first time I landed in Los Angeles, I hated it. I hated everything about it. I hated the little houses. I hated the trees. What's wrong with you trees? Where's the rest of your branches? I hated the way it was always sunny. What are you looking at? I hated the way there was traffic all the time. I hated everything about it. I couldn't wait to leave. And then I had to come back for tour. And I landed. And nothing had changed except suddenly I loved everything about Los Angeles. I looked around at the houses and I thought, houses you look like children's building blocks. You trees are so delightful and like Dr. Seuss made you. Hello, sun, are you smiling at me? Even the traffic was suddenly charming. I would sit in traffic for 2 hours and I would look over and see a man in a blue Lamborghini and he was looking at me. And I was so amazed by the magic of the city that I decided I had to write a book about it. How could I hate something and then love it at the same time?
¿Y qué fue lo que pasó que te hizo cambiar de parecer tan radicalmente? Un día lo odiabas y el día siguiente estabas enamorada de una ciudad que, entre otras cosas, te inspiraría a hacer este éxito rotundo.
So I figured out the magic trick while I was writing the book. It's all about passion. That's why I always tell people when they read my books that I hope that they hate them or they love them, nothing in between. And actually, my first series that I wrote was based upon a book that I hated. I wrote Shiver because I read The Time Traveler's Wife. Have any of you read The Time Traveler's Wife? So I read that book and I hated it. I hated it so much that I had to read it again. And the second time I read it, I discovered that I actually loved it. And I got to the end, and I never cried, and still I started to cry. So it wasn't like the nice, pretty tears where your husband says, "Oh, sweetie, you look so sweet when you cry." No, it was the snot bubble. It went on all evening, and the next morning I said to myself, I'm going to write a book like this. I'm going to write a book so poignant, the character's so three-dimensional, that it's going to ruin someone's evening. And so the series started because of a book that I hated and then loved, and then it finished because of a city that I hated and then loved, and it was all because of passion. I just felt strongly about it.
Ahora hablemos de los miedos de Maggie. ¿A qué le teme una escritora como tú, que ha tenido éxitos profesionales de ese nivel? No hablemos de tus temores profesionales. Cuéntanos algo que no sepamos de tus temores personales.
I used to be a very scared child. I was afraid of everything. I was also a terrible child. I dressed in black all the time. I was very skinny because I didn't eat food. I didn't enjoy getting hugs. All of you have friends who don't like hugs. I was that friend who, when you tried to hug them, they became all elbows. And then if you actually caught me, I would disappear like a mist, or like a Dementor. And I mostly just sulked in corners, looking unfriendly. And I was afraid of everything. Afraid of the dark, afraid of thunderstorms, afraid of heights, afraid of being boring. I'm still a little afraid of that. And then when I got to be 16, I decided I'm gonna make a choice. I can either be afraid of everything for the rest of my life, or I can just be afraid of nothing. And I decided to be afraid of nothing.
Incluso hoy que haces libros tan oscuros, ¿le perdiste el miedo a la oscuridad, Maggie?
The reason why I can write scary books is because I'm not afraid of them.
Y ya que tus libros tienen una faceta de esta índole, calculo que alguna vez te habrás leído la mano, el tarot, el café, las cartas.
Repeat the question, I'm sorry.
¿Alguna vez te leíste el café, el tarot, las cartas, la mano? ¿Crees en los juegos de adivinación o esto se queda solo en el terreno literario? Confiesa.
So there are 3 women in the Raven Cycle that are based on women in my real life. I'm not saying who they are, nor who the women are, but they taught me how to read tarot cards. Now most people, when they think of tarot cards, they're imagining something very mystical, crystal balls, scarves around heads, flickering candles. They got completely smashed on bourbon. And then they said, we're gonna tell you your future. This card means that you're a total, I can't swear, jerk. And they went through and they told me this amazing story about myself based upon these cards. And I said, I'm a very suspicious Catholic. And I'm already dancing perilously close to hell. So I said, how do these cards work? What power runs these cards? And they said, intention runs these cards. We could do this with crackers and it would still work. All of the answers are inside you. It was the most mystical I got all evening. So yes, I can read your cards right now. I can also do it with that piece of paper.
Y si, ya que vemos que no crees en la adivinación, yo quiero saber si alguna vez te has topado de frente con un fantasma.
Now, I didn't say that I didn't believe in divination. I said the tarot cards weren't magic.
¿Y qué dices de los fantasmas? Ya que dejas abierta la puerta a la adivinación. Los fantasmas, ¿te has encontrado con alguna figura oscura de un mundo no literario, sino de un mundo terrenal?
Before I answer this question, how many of you believe in ghosts? Good. I'm going to tell you a ghost story. So when I was very small, my father was always moving us around all over the place. He was in the Navy, so I moved 18 times before I was 18. And my father loved old houses. And one of the old houses that we lived in was built in 1760. It was a very small house. And it was so old that the big floorboards had big gaps in between them. And when you walked on the second floor, dirt fell down from the top floor to the bottom. And I remember one day we were in the living room, no, the kitchen, and I remember that we heard children's laugh from upstairs, and suddenly this golden shower came down between the floorboards right onto the table. And it was because my younger brother had taken off his pants and peed through the floor. But I have a real ghost story too. So I was also in this house. All of us kids lived in one room. It was a very tiny room with walls that slanted like this. And sometimes the house would feel very occupied. And on those nights, all of the kids would get together in this room and we would sit next to the walls because the walls weren't just empty walls. There was a crawl space with nothing but dust in there. And they were all sealed up. And if the house felt right, we would say, you do it. No, you do it. No, you do it. No, you do it. And we would sit down and whoever had been chosen would put their fist on the wall and they would And then if we picked the moment right, on the other side of the wall, you would hear. And then the next one would go. And again we would do this, and we thought it was the best game ever. And it's only as a grown-up that I realized, we could have died.
Y si hoy te toparas con el fantasma de alguien, ¿con quién te gustaría encontrarte y qué le preguntarías?
This is a terrible question.
Yes, it is.
I think. Wait, you have to answer this question first. Who would you want to see? Then I'll steal your idea.
No, yo pregunté primero.
Alright, I'm gonna go for. Oh, I got a good answer. I would ask to see King Arthur's ghost. I'll tell you why this is super clever. So there's loads of Arthurian mythology in these books, but it's hotly debated about whether or not King Arthur actually existed. And if I saw his ghost, see,
Tengo que pensarlo, ahora te lo diré. Estos libros hablan de un mundo paralelo, que es un mundo medianamente real y es el mundo de los sueños. Todos tenemos sueños recurrentes. Yo recurrentemente sueño que me hago pis en la cama. Y es un sueño aterrador. ¿Cuáles son tus sueños recurrentes más aterradores, Maggie?
well, I actually have a sad story about dreams. So I used to have nightmares all the time when I was a tiny phobic child. And I had a journal because I was told that if you had a nightmare over and over again, if you wrote it down, then you'd never have it again. Have you heard this before?
No, never.
It works. So I had a journal full of my nightmares, and once I wrote them down, they were gone out of my head. But there was one dream that I had over and over again that wasn't a nightmare. Instead, I had this place that I would go every single week. And it was a valley, Virginia, full of barns. And it was a magical place where all kinds of fireflies happened, and there were lush trees, and it was beautiful. And I knew that when I came to write this book, that I wanted my main character, Ronan Lynch, to have a beautiful place that he called home that he really missed. And what I really wanted to do was give him this place called the Barns. But I knew that if I wrote it in a book, that I would never get to visit there again. And so I grappled with it for about a month, and I decided I was going to do it. I was going to give it to readers instead. So I made the Lynches live at the Barns, and it's true, I have never returned there again.
Y sabemos que Ronan puede materializar las cosas de los sueños y hacerlas reales. ¿Qué te gustaría materializar de tus propios sueños que no esté en el mundo real y traerlo a tu vida cotidiana?
A Ferrari. No, wait, that's in the real world. Like you, I have a lot of flying dreams, so I would like to have a flying machine. An impossible flying machine. I would like to fly on something super small, like this card.
¿Y a dónde volarías con tu máquina mágica voladora?
Everywhere I would never walk again.
Y si pudieras robarte algo prohibido de tus sueños, ¿qué te gustaría traer?
Something forbidden. One of the things, well, I give all of the things that I really want, I give to my character Ronan to pull out dreams. And he pulls out all kinds of crazy things about light in book 4. That's a spoiler, pretend you never heard it. And I would definitely like to do that. I love all of the crazy things that have to do with light that he dreams. Light where it shouldn't exist.
¿Dónde dirías, Maggie? Tienes unos libros muy exitosos. Vamos a cambiar, vamos a salirnos un poco ahora del mundo de los sueños y del mundo de lo irreal para volver a este mundo. Tienes un éxito rotundo con cada una de las cosas que haces y con cada una de las cosas que escribes.
Except making tortillas.
Las tortillas. Vamos a darte un curso express de tortillas antes de que te vayas, te lo prometo. ¿Dónde radica el éxito de tus libros? ¿Cómo es que consigues conectar también con toda esta audiencia Vi a decenas de fans llorando afuera del stand de SM porque querían sacarse una foto contigo. Algo has hecho muy bien y encontraste una fórmula clave. Cuéntanos, compártanos esos secretos.
Well, for starters, I have really weird readers.
Okay.
Because I write really weird books. And that's my secret. So people are always asking me when they want to be a writer, what piece of advice I would give to them. And I always say, write the book that only you can write. Because I grew up trying to write books that other people could write. My mother gave me old fantasies that were amazing, like the Chronicles of Narnia, and I thought that they were amazing. And my dad would give me his hand-me-down thrillers that were all called things like Shot in the Back and Point Blank. They were all terrible, and I loved them too. And I kept on trying to write books like these, and it was only when I started writing books that only I could write that I started writing really weird books, and I started being successful. So, being weird, that's my secret.
Y hablabas de Maggie en la infancia, una niña que le temía todo, a la que le daba miedo la oscuridad. Quizás no eras la mejor relacionándote con la gente. Eras una niña rara.
I was a very weird kid. I was such a weird kid that when I got pregnant, my mother said, I hope you have a child just like you. And now the thing is that my daughter is just like me, and it's weird to see it from the outside. I'm like, oh, so that's what it looked like when I stood weird and creepily in the corner. My maid, she didn't give me away. Was there a question?
Muy bien. ¿Cómo decides, Maggie, un día sentarte a escribir? Te viste hacia el futuro y dijiste, esto es lo que quiero hacer y me voy a convertir en un bestseller traducida a decenas de idiomas? ¿O fue algo que salió de manera espontánea y funcionó muy bien?
Nobody gets anyplace great by accident. You know that. But also, I always knew that I wanted to be a writer. When I was very tiny, I remember I was typing away on my dad's word processor, which is a small computer the size of this table. And I was typing away, and he said, so Maggie, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, oh, I want to be a writer. My voice didn't sound like that, remember? I was more like, I want to be a writer. Like creepy Batman or something. And he said, oh, you want to be poor. Now in his defense, I remember the novel I was working on. It was about two dogs test driving a car. They were Scottish Terriers, little black dogs. It was a red Porsche. And the first line of dialogue was, it hugs the road. It was terrible. It was terrible. He was right. It was terrible. But the thing is, I always knew that it was going to be hard work to be a writer, but I always knew that I wanted to be a writer. And I had this daydream of walking into a bookstore and someone recommending my own books to me. And I remember that when the second book of the Shiver trilogy came out, I was standing in a bookstore and I was looking at the young adult section, and I'd kind of read everything, because at that time you still could read all of the teen books in a year. And someone came over and said, hey, can I help you find something? They didn't work there, they were just a person. And I said, yeah, I've kind of read everything here, I don't know, I'm looking for something character driven. And she said, have you read the Shiver trilogy? It's amazing. Stared at her like a crazy person. And everyone says, did you tell her who you were? No, of course not, I ran away like the social miscreant that I was.
Hablando del éxito, Maggie, ¿cómo manejas tu propio éxito? Después de, otra vez, haber estado con Shiver más de 40 semanas en los bestsellers de The New York Times, ¿cómo maneja uno el éxito? Y ahora vamos a hablar de tus fans y de las redes sociales.
The thing is that it hasn't always been a success, but it's like how a story has a happy ending when you look far enough down the road. So I always knew where I wanted to end up, so I just didn't stop along the way. But my first two books that are here as Memento, I think, those two books never made it into American bookstores. They came out very quietly and they immediately went out of print. So I just...
¿Eso no te desanimó un poco?
No. The thing was that I'd done my research with the business, so I knew it was hard and I knew what I wanted to do. I never wanted to trick my way into getting published. I wanted to tell a story that was so good that people couldn't put it down. So the answer was just to write another book and make it better.
¿Y cómo es tu relación con tus fans? Porque tienes montones. ¿Cómo los manejas y cómo te relacionas con las redes sociales? Hoy hay que estar ahí necesariamente, ya te vi en Twitter, pero entiendo que Twitter no es tu medio principal para comunicarte con tus fans. ¿Interactúas con ellos? ¿Te traen regalos? Platícanos.
I really love social media. A lot of...
Este es un gran y descarado momento. ¿No? ¿Te habían pasado eso?
I've changed my mind.
Cuéntanos cómo es tu relación con los fans.
The thing that I love about social media is that it's another chance to tell a story. Only it's a story about myself.
¿Eso fue raro o es mi imaginación? ¿Alguien retrató ese momento? Hablemos de tus fans, ¿no?
And so I love that it gives me, I don't know, it adds structure. I already think, when I said that I decided when I was 16 to not be afraid of anything, that was because I was telling a new story about myself. I had been this extremely scary, creepy child, and I decided that I was going to no longer be that scary, creepy child. Instead, I was going to be a superhero that always dressed in black. And so, I was already telling a story about myself, and so social media is just a chance to do it again. I'm just glad that you guys seem to like me.
Y ahora hablamos de tu fascinación, porque eres una mujer multifacética y sabemos que te gustan los coches. Cuéntanos ese vínculo que tienes con los coches y si ya tienes el coche de tus sueños.
I have to say that my first moment when I felt really happy.
Ok. Tenía que hacerlo. So put it on Twitter. Put it on Twitter. Yes.
The first time I felt at home in Mexico was actually when I was doing a presentation at the booth. And it was all of these unfamiliar faces, and my Spanish is terrible. I can only say, Encantada. I'll be better next time, I promise. And so I was feeling very out of my element, and then a reader came through, and she said, I heard you set John Green's car on fire. And it was because she'd followed my blog, and so she knew that indeed John Green, another author, had challenged me to a race in my car because he knew I loved cars. And they shut down a track in Minnesota, and he didn't actually know how to race cars, but someone gave him a race car for some reason. I have some experience racing cars, and I just put a giant engine in my car, and so I was excited to do it. And I was on this track, and I came around the corner, and John Green had set his car on fire. It was not me, it was him. He decided to burn in front of his fans. It's his personal choice. Anyway, so the point was, it's a story that was available on social media, and that was the moment when I felt like, all right, sure, they're just my readers. They're my readers after all. And so that was delightful. But I don't know, I love cars. They're like this. I can't fly around on this car, so I have to have a car so I can drive everywhere super fast instead.
Y como viste, estamos entre un público muy normal esta tarde, muy discreto. Así que te voy a pedir que nos confieses 2 o 3 cosas que no sepamos de ti. Te prometo que no saldrán en este lugar. Algo que no sepamos de ti y que tus fans y yo queremos saber.
I'm wearing the same socks today as I did yesterday.
Eso es muy grave, vas a ahuyentar a todo el mundo. Y algo un poco más...
I like to tell scary stories.
¿Y qué más? Cuéntanos algo de tu infancia que no cuentes con frecuencia, que hayas ya superado, que forme parte de tus secretos oscuros.
Part of my dark secrets. The thing is that I've told the internet most of my dark secrets because I would like other creepy children out there to also become all black wearing superheroes. But the biggest thing that I had to overcome when I was a teenager is that I still have OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Not that anybody can guess that from looking at me. I'm very ordinary. But I come from a family of hand washers that obsessively wash their hands, that check doors, that count to 10 3 times in a row in order to be able to walk through a doorway. And so I put that online though, so all of my deep, dark secrets, if it's interesting, I put it out there.
¿Y has tenido alguna experiencia aterradora, no que tenga que ver con fantasmas, alguna experiencia aterradora de la vida cotidiana?
That guy right there.
A mí me pareció absolutamente natural. ¿Dónde está? ¿Pertenece a algún grupo?
He left.
Thank God.
It takes a lot to scare me as an adult, I have to say. When was the last time I was scared? After John Green set his car on fire, I have to confess, I set my car on fire. It was kind of an accident. I was driving through Ohio and a man named Greg had put my engine in my car and he'd done it badly. And so I was driving along totally at the speed limit and all of a sudden my car caught on fire. And I realized I was looking at the flames and I was thinking, this is a moment where you should be feeling fear. Like this is where adrenaline should happen. And instead, we got a bottle of spring water and we put out the fire. So I just don't think I have any sense of fear anymore. It's probably not good.
Y cuéntanos, Maggie, ¿cómo es que te sientas a escribir? ¿Lo haces delante de tu computadora? ¿Te sientas en un café? ¿Lo haces a mano? Queremos saber cómo es que has conseguido todo este éxito. Tomen nota, chicos, los futuros escritores. Pero ¿cómo es que llega la inspiración y en qué momento del día lo hace?
I scratch it in my arm with a stick. I don't really believe in inspiration suddenly hitting you and you have to wait for it. Your job is to have your butt already in a chair, so when inspiration comes along, you're already doing your job. But that said, I have to have my music. I have to have my playlist on that keeps me in the mood of the book because the mood is the most important thing about the book. And otherwise, I can write anywhere. I can write on planes and trains and buses. I will say, I used to not be able to write in planes because I didn't like having people look over my shoulder. And then I told myself, you know what? You're being ridiculous. No one is looking over your shoulder when you're on a plane. You're being so egotistical. Just do it. And I was really on deadline, and so I was writing The Dream Thieves, this one, and I was on a plane from Germany, and it was really late at night. And I was squashed in the middle, and everyone around me is sleeping, and I'm typing. And I write a joke into the book, and the man beside me laughs.
Oh my God, he was brilliant.
And I turned to him and I said, "You ruined my life." And now I've become that person that requests the window seat, and I sit there and guard it like a troll. And I know some people are really nervous flyers, and they come down the aisle and they say, "Can I switch with you and have the window?" No!
¿Te gustan los aviones o te dan un poco de miedo?
I like planes that go fast. I like a plane.
¿Te gusta la adrenalina un poco? Eso sospechaba. El momento de aquí requirió de mucha adrenalina. ¿Qué escuchas, Maggie, en general? Porque quizás ustedes no lo sepan, pero Maggie es tremenda música. Toca un montón de instrumentos. ¿Por qué no nos cuentas un poco primero de tu faceta como de ese lado artístico y después nos cuentas qué escuchas? ¿Escuchas tu propia música para escribir?
So I play 6 different instruments, but once I tell people what I played in college, that's the only one they care about. I played the Scottish bagpipes competitively in college, which is good. Get that out of the way. So I was given a set of bagpipes by the Bulgarians when I was touring. They gave me a set of Bulgarian bagpipes that looked nothing like the Scottish bagpipes. They looked like a goat that's just died, and I had to take them through airport security. And as they went through the x-ray, the German security people were looking at it, and I heard them say, "Was ist das?" What is that? And the other one goes, "Dudelsack," which is how I found out that I'm actually a doodlesacker. So I don't know if that word sounds as hilarious to you guys as it does to me, but you can have no pride for saying you're a doodlesacker. But no, I don't listen to my own music while I'm writing. Before I start any book, the most important thing is the mood, and so I find the song that holds that mood in my head. and then I build a playlist around that. So it depends on what the book is. So for The Wolves of Mercy Falls, it was all really lovely indie rock, and it's all on my website, MaggieStiefvater.com. Every book has the playlist I listened to while I was writing it. And it's all really lovely stuff that you can recommend to your mom, and your mom won't be angry. My mom said, your taste in music is great, Maggie. And then I wrote this book, and it was all hip-hop. My mom doesn't like it anymore, it's fine.
Tienes una hermana con la que compones música, ¿cierto? Para cada una de tus obras. Cuéntanos eso, es rarísimo.
Well, so earlier you asked me what my plans for the future were, and you said I couldn't talk about cars or music or art. I have a plan for the future, but it actually involves music, so I couldn't say it then. But I just finished building a recording studio on my property, because when I was in college, I had a band and we toured up and down the east coast of the US. And I really wanted to write music for movies. And so we released an album, and my sister is an amazing musician, and I thought, you know what? I'm 34, I'm a grown-up. I can build a recording studio if I want a recording studio. I want a recording studio. Some people when they're 34, they renovate their bathrooms. I want a recording studio. And so now we're gonna record an album together, and we're gonna take a long time, and it's going to be great.
Y ahora hay un montón de gente que debe tener preguntas para ti y todos me están viendo con ojos asesinos porque no suelto el micrófono. Así que quizás es el momento, ¿ves? De que yo siga, no, de cederles el micrófono a ustedes un ratito porque tengo más preguntas para ti, porque seguramente querrán saber sobre Maggie. Y aquí tenemos una primera pregunta y habrá decenas. ¿Hay algún micrófono?
Gracias. Sí, Maggie. Andrea Morales, ¿qué le diría Maggie hoy a Maggie, la niña de 10 años atrás, de esos miedos, de esa incertidumbre, de esa etapa de vida donde hoy Maggie Stiefvater es lo que es?
The problem with 10-year-old Maggie is that she didn't listen to anybody. Also that she hated all authority figures. I think the biggest thing that 10-year-old Maggie would have benefited from was not anything I was saying, but instead by seeing me. Because I always feel like the most important thing that I could possibly do for other strange teens out there is to show them how it's totally possible that you never have to grow up. No, you follow your dreams, that's what I meant to say. So that's the most important thing. I think if I would stand there and say, it's totally possible, do it.
Por aquí,
Primero quiero decir que te amo mucho. Y segundo, ¿en qué te basaste para escribir tanto a Sam como a Nancy? O no sé cómo se pronuncia. Porque acabo de empezar ayer el primer libro y estoy llamando totalmente a Nancy y ya he leído los de Shiver y Sam es mi amor verdadero, yo lo sé. Está por ahí esperándome dejando eso.
He might be waiting outside that door right now.
con un celular para sacarse una foto con Maggie.
I'm going to tell you a really sappy story. So I met my husband when I was 19. I was a bagpiper. I was in a bagpipe band. I hung out with guys all the time, and no offense to all the guys in the audience, but I thought you all were jerks. So guys were always asking me out, and I was like, I'll be your friend, but I'm not going to go out with you because... And so I worked in this tiny little tourist shop called the Made in Virginia shop, and we sold things that were made in Virginia. So I was behind the counter, dressed all in black, my charming self, I want to be a writer, you know. And this guy came in, and he struck up a conversation about roadkill. And so we chatted for about 45 minutes, and at the end of it he said, hey, do you want to go out sometime? And I looked at him and I said, give me a good reason. And he said, I'll think of one, and he left. And I was totally fine with this because, whatever. So the next day he came back, and he had a single pink rose. And I said, I like yellow. And he said, okay, and he left. And I figured he was gone forever, and I was fine with that. And so the next day, a bushel of yellow roses appears. So quirky. And I said, all right, here's the deal. I'm not going out for dinner with you because that's too much of a commitment. I'll go out with you for ice cream And I'm not going to ride in your car because you could be a serial killer or a Pearl Jam fan. I'll follow you in my car. And so I followed him in my car. We sat in this ice cream joint. We talked for 2 hours, and when we left, he took my hand as we walked out to the cars, and he said, when we're married, I'm driving. And I said, no way, but I meant the driving, not the married. So that's a love story because I had a love story. I don't know how dating works though, so I don't think I'll ever write about dating. Did you know this? If you read all of my books, there's no dating. I don't know what's that.
¿Y el helado valió la pena?
That was terrible.
Por allá hay otra pregunta.
Soy Manuel Cosanuno, como ustedes decirme. Mi pregunta va acerca de... Me imagino que usted, mientras escribe, tiene montones de ideas acerca de lo que quiere escribir. ¿Qué ideas acerca de qué libros ha desechado y por qué?
¿Sabes que eres mayor cuando un niño de 16 años te habla de usted?
14.
14. Muchísimo.
Wait, repeat your question. I was listening to 3 voices. The aliens are piping.
¿Hay partes de su libro que usted le habría gustado mantener o desechar incluso sobre ideas de lo que le habría gustado poner? ¿Qué partes y por qué las desechó?
This is a sad story. So whenever I get writer's block, I always stop what I'm doing, and then I delete everything that I wrote when I began to slow down. Because writer's block for me means that I knew what story I wanted to tell and I started telling a different one instead. I don't really delete those words though because I'm a chicken. And so I highlight all of those words and I put them in a file that's called outtakes because I like to pretend that one day I'll go back to them. I never go back to them. So the Dream Themes is 125,000 words finished. My outtakes folder is 250,000 words. So there are lots and lots of deleted things. But the thing is, if I really love an idea, I'll find a way to put it in there. The deleted scenes are in there because they're boring versions of the scenes that are in there.
¿Más preguntas, chicos? Allá.
Hola, Maggie. Solo te quería decir que te adoro mucho y tenía la pregunta de que si tienes más planes para el futuro, ya ves que tus libros son un poco raros. Si pensarías así escribir como de otro género, así como...
Como menos raro.
Ajá. No muy raro, pero como de otro género, como de un estilo diferente para probar cosas nuevas.
I will never write a book without magic in it.
We like that.
And I don't think I can stop being weird. I would say I just finished writing the last book in this series. It's 4 books planned. And I'm writing a standalone, and it's so delightful to only have to hold one short story in my head. But it's weird, I'm sorry. It's really weird. And it's got magic. I might one day, well, I won't, not might. One day I will write an adult novel. The novel that comes after that is for grown-ups, so they have things like paying taxes and stuff.
Por aquí hay
Hola Maggie, mi nombre es Fabiana. Buenas tardes. Quisiera preguntarte que, bueno, tú eres música y escritora y te gustan los carros y, bueno, coach es músico y también escribe canciones, te supone, y te gustan los carros. ¿Te basaste en ti mismo para hacer coach o conociste a un chico súper loco como coach para escribir como es? Porque, bueno, es genial.
Yes, Cole is very autobiographical. I was very much Cole St. Clair when I was around 20, 21, and so I wanted to work that out on the page along with my love and hate of Los Angeles. So I always tell people that Sinner, don't laugh at my accent, is the truest book that I wrote. And so people who don't need it will just see that it's about werewolves, and people that do need it will see that it's actually true.
Creo que tenemos tiempo para un par de preguntitas más. Señor, mire cuántas jóvenes ansiosas por preguntar esta de Kirsten. Buenas noches, se le
Bueno, muy bien. Si a ti te gustan los autos, solo quiero que sepas que manejé 4 horas para llegar esta tarde y estar aquí contigo. Y bueno, si te gustan los autos...
Yo te saco más.
También, vamos a bueno, si te gustan los autos, quiero saber si viste la película de Mad Max, Furia en el Camino, y qué piensas de esa película y de los autos.
I actually just saw it again for the second time, and I'll take you up on that ride. But not if it's a Chevy Bolt. I just saw Mad Max for the second time, and I really love how they. What are you doing?
Social media.
I really love how they built all of those cars and got the actual feeling of driving in that movie. Yes, that's all I gotta say. I love it. Cars, fire, women punching people. Very shiny and chrome.
Hola, buenas noches. Maggie, creo que hay algo que a todos por aquí nos interesaría saber. Tu opinión al respecto de que tu serie de libros fueran adaptados, no sé, a alguna serie de televisión o a cine. ¿Te gustaría?
So, I actually have to say that the film rights to the Scorpio races they've been optioned, and they're quite far along in the process. As a matter of fact, and I'm going to say this in a super calm voice, so you're going to think I'm super cool. As a matter of fact, we have a director now. He flew from California to my house a couple of weeks ago. Because that's what happens. He came to my house! I had to vacuum. Anyway, so it was really cool because I imagine all of my books in my head as movies before I write them, and then I have to translate that into words. So the image into words, and now it's like, does this game exist in Mexico, around the world? Where I would whisper in your ear, and you would whisper in his ear because he's there, and then he would whisper, and then by the end, there would be something different at the end.
Teléfonos compuestos. Yes, we play that.
So I like how when you watch a movie getting made, it's like playing around the world with a director. So I thought of the image, then I translated it, and now he's going to translate it back into an image again. So I'm super excited. It could be terrible, but I don't care. It's not my movie.
Oigan, antes de que salgan huyendo al área internacional de firmas, nos quedan un par de preguntas, corran porque si no nos echan.
¿Puedes explicar un poco el final de la saga de Libro? Porque no entendí nada.
No. Parece que no. ¿Obviamos esa pregunta?
No,
¿Qué
I hear
hacemos?
that.
¿Me contesta que no contesta?
No.
Ok, una última pregunta.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. Corran, corran. Tú decides. Así la responsabilidad recae sobre ti, no sobre
Tini, Moni.
Hola, Maggie. Ay, por Dios. Tenía que preguntarte, tú dijiste que primero odiaron Los Ángeles y regresaste y la amaste. ¿Qué piensas de Guadalajara? ¿Te gusta o sería necesario volver para amarla?
I actually would have no idea how to answer this question before today, but I got to escape because I just came to the book fair and I was only inside here and
Lovely.
but I actually got a chance to walk around the city today and I thought it was really amazing. I can't wait to come back. Everyone has asked me to come back next year and the answer is yes, I would love to. I don't have to.
Bueno, antes de darle un aplauso a Maggie, quiero agradecerte mucho haber estado con nosotros aquí, haber respondido tan amablemente a tan insistentes preguntas. No se vayan, vamos a darle un aplauso a Maggie. Recuerden que la firma es en el área internacional.